Microphone check 1 2. Mic check. Thank you. We'll get started here in a few minutes. Nice. Yeah, there's nothing better than golf. I'm sorry. Like a golf on a pretty warm day on the border of being hot with a few like ice cold beers. Oh, as long as you're having a decent day on the course. One of my golfing buddies is completely insane. Like he'll throw his club across the pond, he'll throw it into a tree, he'll break it. He carries like 3 5-irons. It's the strangest thing. What is up? How's everybody doing? Welcome to another Sleuth Intuition Live. Tonight we're going to look at recent cases. Honestly, this live stream just kind of turned into a complete like news broadcast, apparently. So we're going to talk a little bit about, just briefly, some of the combat sports that took place yesterday, which was amazing in my opinion. We're going to look at some strange cases that I came across. These are from all over the U.S. They're kind of random. The first ones we'll play. Then I want to kind of bring some attention over to Kentucky. It looks like it's getting worse, every day. So I want to bring a little attention over there just so people can kind of see what's going on. And then some strange cases involving baptism and murders. Kind of goes into the mental health realm on one of these cases. Not only that, it's kind of a conspiracy theory over in the Delphi case. So I thought it'd be interesting to have that conversation and look into that. Then some scary cases that happened. I believe one was Friday, one was Saturday, some home invasions where the occupants were actually able to defend themselves against the intruders, the armed intruders at that. And then I have a lot of information on the Apple River stabbings in Wisconsin. Um, so we'll end with that. I have some breaking information from that about the suspect that is currently in custody. And I can't wait to get your opinions on everything that I found. What's up, Chick P? Purdue, D. Yeah, that's awful. It seems like crime is going up. It's either that or I'm just paying more attention. What's up, Chopper? So I don't know if any of you guys caught these fights here. Danny Garcia, Jose Benavidez. Danny put a whooping on this kid. Tough, though. He won in a decision. I think he took all the rounds. He may have lost, I think, round 9. That's it. And then this was epic. Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena. Man, that right hand just, boom, stumped her every time. So she won a decision victory. It was a good fight. Pena showed a lot of heart, in my opinion. I don't think anybody other than Amanda Nunes beats her. What's up, Cindy? Yeah, carnage, man. Pure athletes, those two women. Tough as nails. Man, she knocked Pena down like, I think 4 times. It was this crazy like counter right hand. She was switching to a southpaw position. And every time Pena would kind of dive in with that stabbing, like spear like jab, because that's how she likes to come right down the pipe. She would just get checked, boom, with this right hand. It was like, it wasn't chopping. It was more like, I guess it was chopping because we kind of come at a downward motion. So you can tell she trained on that. So she was very impressive. Okay, now we're going to start getting into some of these strange cases. So, I mean, viewer discretion on all this stuff. It's all true crime related. It's all disaster related. You know, we're only here to kind of have awareness and just to kind of take a look at the news, really. Sleuth intuition is turning into your source of strange news. He's slowly evolving. Okay, now this one here. Now, this is a strange case and it's unfolding right now. It involves a man who jumped from a plane, and the plane later basically did kind of a crash landing So there's a lot of mystery. They had to kind of find where the man fell. I believe they have located him. But let's take a look.
Chief Brendan Medina sharing the name of that co-pilot. He is 23-year-old Charles Hugh Crooks. He lives in downtown Raleigh. The delay in relaying that information was due to his next of kin living in Connecticut and trying to coordinate with authorities in that state to notify his father. Now, CCBI and the medical examiner were here earlier this evening. They have since left the scene and recovered the body. Throughout the course of the day, several different agencies working together to try and narrow that search area to this neighborhood. But tonight, plenty of questions on how Crooks exited that aircraft. A terrifying landing at RDU Friday afternoon. This twin-engine turboprop aircraft taking off from Rayford, reporting landing gear issues as it approached the airport.
First of all, he did a flyby to get confirmation from the tower that, yes, the right landing gear had not come down. So now at this point, he's on left landing gear and main gear.
ABC 11 pilot Rob Marshall watching those tense moments.
He did a perfect landing on both the left main gear and the right forward gear. He's just flying down the runway and flying down the runway until he drained off enough airspeed, just let his right wing dip in. That right wing dipped into the ground and just made a soft little turn right into the grass.
Operations at RDU impacted as that runway was forced to close, causing one flight to be diverted on top of a number of delays.
We just circled the airport for an extra 30 minutes, and then when everything was clear, we landed.
It's what happened in the air that drew crews from Cary, Apex, Holly Springs, and Wake County. Reports of a man leaving the aircraft without a parachute. Police and firefighters looking both in the air and on the ground.
It's quite a large area right now. Again, as we get more information, we get reports. We're working with the FAA, RDU, looking at the flight plan. We're using, again, as much technology and resources that we can.
After about 3 hours, Wake County Emergency Management sharing this update.
We had officers that were responding in the area for the search and were flagged down by a resident. They had heard something in their backyard, which led to us finding this individual.
That brings us here to the Sonoma Springs housing development, about 10 minutes from the initial staging area outside Westlake Middle School in Apex, where the body was discovered. Now we're told that body was discovered about 30 to 40 feet away from a home in this neighborhood. Authorities have not found any parachute or any landing gear near the body. Certainly at this point, NTSP will be overseeing the investigation, working with agencies on the ground to try to determine what happened during this tragic incident. The pilot's name has not been released at this point, but certainly an interview with him will be upcoming and should shine some light on what unfolded in the air.
Crazy. So you can tell there's a whole story going on there. I mean, why is the guy going to jump out of the plane? Was he afraid that they were going to crash? Was he part of the reason that they crashed to begin with? Like, what the hell is going on? Has anybody heard of any updates on that? Did the other guy just not know how to fly the plane? Did he not know how to bring like the landing gear down? Is that why he was doing a flyby? Like checking his, hey, did I successfully get all my wheels, down? Does anybody know? Is there any updates on that? Oh, it's a strange story. Yeah, did he panic? Is he like, I would rather maybe attempt to like fall into some trees or, or was it like a suicide thing? I don't know. It's just a very strange case. Oh, wow. I wonder if he was hiding in the landing gear and passed out and fell. What if he sabotaged the landing gear? Because it sounded like they were looking for like pieces. Okay, so imagine you're just sitting down for dinner or something, or you're watching TV with your family, and you just hear like something come crashing down. That is so crazy to me. Hopefully he wasn't pushed from the plane. Yeah. I'm going to keep an eye on this case. This one's something weird about that one. This next one, it's titled Mom Calls 911 After Son Accidentally Shot His Friend. So take a look at this one.
He killed his friend, and he's panicking. And I said, call 911 now. He said, no, I can't. I said, call 911 now. And then he hung up on me. And so I'm calling 911, and we are driving now.
911 calls just released this evening. You can
Tony
hear a
Darko.
devastated and frantic mother moments after her son shot his friend to death. Police believe it was an accident. Fox 35's Dave Puglisi reports from Castleberry.
Well, Ray, we do know that police say it was a 17-year-old Isaiah Santiago that was killed during this. As you mentioned, those 911 calls are pretty chilling, but she says it was an accident as she frantically called 911.
She just told me that he had accidentally killed his friend, and he's panicking.
The caller is frantically seeking help as she drives to this scene where Castleberry police spent the night. She claims her 18-year-old son called her saying he accidentally shot and killed his friend before running away.
Ma'am, he's gone. He's running. He's gone. Okay. He's gone. He's probably going to go kill himself.
The caller appears to arrive at the home on Paddock Way and tries to help 17-year-old Isaiah Santiago as he clings to life.
Tell me what to do! He was shot!
Okay, I understand. I need you to leave the room and try to go to a...
Leave the room?
Yeah, leave the room! He has been shot!
What?
I cannot leave the room!
The caller could be heard giving CPR.
Yeah,
and
don't leave
saying
the room.
Isaiah was
Help
shot
the
in the
person.
head. Paramedics tried to save him, but Isaiah didn't make it.
Oh, please, please. Come on, Baba. Come on, Baba.
It's awful. She knows him.
Police found the 18-year-old nearby, but he hasn't spoke to investigators yet. Investigators have also not filed any charges, but have released a statement about the importance of securing your firearms in the home. In Castleberry, Dave Puglisi, Fox 35 News.
Man, that woman tried to do everything. She's like, I alerted police. I went to the scene as fast as I could. I tried to do CPR. Like, man, that lady deserves a lot of credit. That's how cases get solved, because people see stuff and they know, like, you can't just not say something about something like that. So when you have an unsolved case, it's like somebody's chose to be silent, in my opinion. Like her, she did the right thing right away. Like, boom, like it was just an accident. He's panicking. He'll have to face those, whatever. Go get him. He's running. I'm on my way to the young man. So, in my opinion, kudos to that lady. And it's heartbreaking that the friend died. And it seems that the young man who shot him made some awful. He made the worst kind of choice. That just makes you look guilty, no matter what. No matter what happened, no matter what goes on in trial, there's always that why did you run, And I understand people panic, but you're like putting a stigma on yourself. And I mean, it's a good question. Why did you run, So, yeah, there's always that too. What's up, Curly? The world, huh? It seems like the world collectively is going in a strange direction. But like I said, that could just be me. As I'm getting older, I'm paying more attention to these types of things. You know what I mean? All right. Now, viewer discretion advised on this next one. It is titled Pregnant Mother Killed. And it's extremely tragic. I think this happened Friday night, if I'm not mistaken.
the murder of a pregnant mother of 3. LaGrange police say Brianna Burgess was found stabbed to death.
Members who say they are devastated.
An absolutely gut-wrenching story. Burgess was a single mother of 3 and expecting her 4th child. While police have 2 suspects in custody, family members say it doesn't ease their pain. You can hear the agony in their voices.
Right now, we're trying to understand how someone could do this to another human being.
Family members of Brianna Burgess say they are heartbroken by the loss of the 26-year-old mother of 3 who police found stabbed to death early Wednesday morning on Fork Drive in LaGrange.
What we're going through, you know, is awful.
LaGrange police say they were doing a routine check of the area when they found Burgess's body near this track. Investigators say Cortez Avery and Shalandra Freeman knew Burgess and targeted her.
It's just senseless, you know, for someone to just do that to her.
Avery and Freeman are charged with murder and feticide. Burgess was 5 months pregnant at the time of her death. She leaves behind a 5, 7, and 9-year-old.
It's a monster who did this to her.
While family members tell Fox 5 they're somewhat relieved to see arrests made in her murder, it won't bring her back.
We want to see justice for her because she did not deserve what happened to her.
The family has started a GoFundMe to cover funeral costs. They're planning to hold a vigil Friday night where her body was found. They say people can also send donations directly to Higgins Funeral Home in LaGrange. LaGrange police say the 2 suspects in custody are being held without bond. They're asking anyone with information to contact detectives. In LaGrange, Joy Dukes, Fox 5 News.
You want to talk about a nightmare scenario? One of the charges was infanticide. I mean, how awful. Just hearing that word is awful. So those were some of the more brutal things that I kind of found in the news that I felt worth sharing. But also, I've been looking into the Kentucky, the Appalachian, the floodings there, and it seems to be a lot worse than I originally thought. You know, you hear cases of flooding and things like that. So I just pulled 2 quick videos just to kind of go over it with you guys in case anybody has family out there or was hoping that it was getting a little more attention. We're going to do that here.
At least 19 people, including 6 children, were killed when torrential rains dumped as much as 10.5 inches in just 2 days. Kentucky's governor warning that the number of dead could rise sharply as emergency crews struggle to reach rural areas that are among the poorest in the country. Meteorologist Mike Seidel from our partners at the Weather Channel is in Hindman, Kentucky, where many people are still missing. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Dana. I'm in front of the Troublesome Creek, so aptly named because overnight Wednesday night and into Thursday morning, 6 inches of rain fell in 3 hours. It came rushing down all these mountainsides and hillsides in eastern Kentucky, and the creek went from where it is now up to the top of the bridge. The force of the water brought this SUV, flipped it over downstream. Many of the residents had little time to react, and this morning, the search and rescue continues for the unaccounted for. As the floodwaters in parts of southeastern Kentucky began to recede, the extent of the damage became clearer.
Right now, it's looking like we're not going to be able to save it.
Entire towns have been flooded, roads destroyed, and major infrastructure, power, water, and cell phone service wiped out.
There's nothing really that you can do, but, we're just glad that we got out.
Crews have already rescued nearly 300 people, and many more are still unaccounted for. Governor Andy Beshear toured the region by helicopter and later warned the death toll will go up.
From everything we've seen,
prayers go out for Kentucky right now.
The count of how many we lost
and
for the next
Virginia.
Weeks.
There's flooding going on all around.
By torrential rain surged through the
It's supposed to rain tonight too,
inundating the elementary school and leaving it under a thick crust of mud. Classes were to begin in less than 2 weeks, but not anymore.
The school is kind of the heart where everybody comes together, and so it's hard.
Kentucky is just one of several states left reeling from severe flooding.
Monsoonal rains washed through parts of Nevada, soaking unlucky gamblers on the Las Vegas Strip.
Scientists say climate change amplifies these storms and the damage they leave behind. In Kentucky, recovery will be slow.
We're going to grieve with you. We're going to support you, and we're going to be here for you, not just today, but tomorrow and in the weeks and the years to come.
Right now, there's still nearly 20,000 customers in Kentucky without power. Combine that with the flash flooding, and some water systems are still not up and running. So the governor has rushed plenty of drinking water to those affected areas. The best news of all in several days is
Center tonight of the nation's latest extreme weather disaster. At least 16 people have died in flooding that rewrote the record books and ravaged neighboring states as well. Amna Nawaz has our report.
It's up to 25
The town
people
of Garrett, Kentucky is hardly recognizable.
so far.
Inundated by torrents of rainwater that flooded streets and wiped out homes and businesses. Rachel Patton was caught in the deluge.
Everything's gone, like everything is gone. The whole life is gone.
Her mother also had to be rescued.
We had to put her on a door to get her out of her trailer because she was flooded in. She couldn't get out. She's on oxygen.
Search and rescue teams backed by the National Guard are still searching for missing people. But determining the exact number of missing has been a challenge, as many people were stranded without cellular service, and many are in areas still inaccessible to the crews.
We know we've got folks now that we can't get to, they've got water in their homes and they're trapped, and we just can't get to them because the water is so swift.
The historic floods struck in some of the state's smallest and poorest areas. As much as a foot of rain has fallen in eastern Kentucky in the last week, in counties near the borders with Virginia and West Virginia. By this morning, more than 33,000 people had no power, and many also lost water service.
Hello, everybody.
Today, Kentucky's Governor Andy Beshear prepared his state for more grim days ahead.
Right now, looks like it's going to rain a lot Monday, maybe Tuesday. So we will continue to watch that. But everybody out there, have a safety plan for when that comes. We don't want you to have to go through this twice.
In the meantime, the rescue effort goes on around the clock. Beshear predicted the damage will take at least a year to rebuild. Meanwhile, a similar story in parts of western Virginia and southern West Virginia, where flooding overtook roads and brought down trees, leading both governors to issue emergency declarations in the hardest hit areas. And more rainfall in St. Louis last night and into today, just days after a storm topped the daily rainfall record set back in 1915.
Our boat has arrived, Mary.
This mother and her 9-month-old daughter had to be rescued from their home and pulled through what was once their neighborhood in Hazelwood, Missouri.
That's so
The Missouri
crazy.
Department of Transportation closed down 4 highways as
Yep,
well
we're
as
in a
several
boat.
other roads. Back in Kentucky, President Biden declared the situation a major disaster, ordering
man.
federal aid to 13 counties that will assist in recovery efforts.
Our hearts break for the families of those who have lost their lives or are missing, and to all those who have been impacted. Unfortunately, Kentucky is no stranger to catastrophic climate events, and the federal government will continue to provide assistance.
More rain and storms are
Crazy. So that's what's going on in Kentucky right now. It's like, hey, how you doing? Oh, not too bad, other than my entire home was swept away in a flash flood. All my animals were killed, and one of my cousins is missing. Yeah, and every time I go look at an update, there's more people that they found. And I guess the governor keeps saying that they expect to find a lot more. So and I'm sure he's looking at the grand scale of it, and people are advising him of that information. So I'm sure they They've kind of looked at the scale of it all. Yeah, we haven't seen anything that nature can do. I mean, if you really look at it, nature created a planet in the middle of like some vast open space. We're just like clinging on it. Yeah, that's true, Miss Persevere. She says most people don't realize just how dangerous those floodwaters are or how strong they can be. I live near a flood zone and it's scary when the waters rise. Well, for example, you could be 90 miles from a storm, and you could just happen to be, at a lower sea level, having fun near a creek bank, camping, swimming, whatever. 50, 60 miles up, near the top of a mountain is a flash flood, and all this water is heading directly to you. You can see the storm in the distance, but you have no idea that there's this water heading right directly towards you just to kind of sweep you up. And that's how people get killed by flash floods. Usually. Because they're not even in the storm. They're 50, 60 miles away from the storm. There's no way they're going to get flooded. But that water's coming right at them like a freight train. Okay, now the next few stories we're going to get into involve strange cases of baptism. We got one clip here titled Florida Woman Being Looked at for the Death of Two Children in a Canal. I have the 911 calls and a news clip on that one. There was actually a man named Daniel Wilkie, a former deputy, who basically gave somebody that he pulled over the ultimatum, like, hey, I'm going to charge you with possession of marijuana or something marijuana related, or you can get baptized. No, I think she was going to get charged for it anyway. And he said, I'm going to take you to jail or you're going to get baptized. So she agreed to get baptized. Of course, get baptized by a police officer. Like, what the? So we're going to talk about that one. That's extremely just a bizarre case. And then another one involving a teen who felt the need to baptize his father, who was an alcoholic apparently, just returning from a rehab. And the son was suffering from some type of mental health issue and believed that he was possessed, and that's what was causing him to continue to return to alcohol. Because I guess he was spotted the very day he returned from the rehab facility at a liquor store. And I think some type of fight or altercation ensued near some water. It's another strange case. But let's take a look here.
911, what is the address of the emergency?
It's a body out here in the canal.
All right, ma'am, take a deep breath for me. What city is that?
It's Lauderhill.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I just came out the door. I saw a body in the canal.
Okay, that's okay. So is there somebody drowning, ma'am, or can you
No,
elaborate a little?
the person.
Stay on the phone with me. I'm sorry that you're seeing that. I'm going to get the help out there for you, okay?
Oh, my God.
And how long ago did you find her?
I found her when I just came out the door.
How long ago? How many minutes ago was this?
I don't know how long. I just came outside.
How long
was
ago?
playing with my cat.
Okay.
And I saw the body floating in the water.
Okay, I'm sorry that you're witnessing that. Do not disturb anything at the scene. Okay, we do have
Yes.
units We have units that are en route.
Yes.
Okay, you do. Thank you very much for calling us. Stay right on the line with me. I know it's very upsetting. An officer's been dispatched.
Oh my God, I've never seen this before.
911, what's the
Hello?
address of the emergency?
Hello? Hi, I need you guys to come off of 56 in the Habitat area to see if there's a little girl body in the water. I can't tell if it's a mannequin body, or if it's a body that's been in the water for some days. I need somebody to come check the water.
Alrighty. You said a little girl's body?
Yeah, it looks like, I can't tell if it's a mannequin. It's just the hair, it's the kinky hair. So that's why I'm like, I don't think mannequin, I don't know what's going on.
Okay, it's okay.
Oh, Lord.
It's okay. Just stay on the line with me. It looks like we actually do have this call in for service. Just a moment.
I mean, it was that awful. It was unreal. If you listen to the witnesses, it was unreal to them. They could not believe what they were seeing. Like their eyes were telling them, like, there's a body of a young child in front of me. But their brain was telling them otherwise. It's a mannequin. Mannequins don't have realistic hair. Can't be a mannequin, but it's not a human. So that's like trauma in real time, honestly.
And their reporter, Christian Benavides, live in Lauderhill. Christian?
Tragedy in Lauderhill as police identified two girls whose bodies were found in a canal on Tuesday, just hours apart. Deja and Destiny Hogan, just 7 and 9 years old. Officials are calling their mother, Tanisa Hogan, a person of interest.
We have similar information to what you brought out earlier, that she was in the canal, that she was offering to baptize people in the neighborhood. That is an angle that we're exploring.
A neighbor tells us this is where Hogan lived with her 2 children. Lauderhill police are currently stationed outside the home, which sits on the canal. This woman, who asked us to conceal her identity, said she had interactions with the mother.
She was swimming right towards us, and then she decided to turn around and go back. She was like, "Come here, let me baptize you."
The canal wraps around a residential neighborhood.
They said a little girl is in the lake. So when we rush here, we see her floating.
A makeshift memorial is now growing at the spot where the second body was found.
It looked like she was having some kind of personal or emotional problems. Like I couldn't express it. Like she was just on her back like this first during the day. And I say, "Are you okay?" And she started swimming towards me, but then she turned around and got up and started walking around on the lawn. And then she went back around the house and disappeared.
Police tonight are reaching out to the community. They want to find out more about the family dynamics between the mother and her 2 young daughters. Now, no charges have been filed against the mother, but police tonight said that the community is not at risk. Live in Lauderhill, I'm Christian Benavides. Back to you, Shep.
Christian, thank you. Shepherd 6.
So I believe she has been charged. I haven't seen any of the arrest documentation yet been put up online, but I believe she has been formally charged. So what happened was, I believe she had a breakdown. She had murdered both of her daughters around the ages of 7 and 9, I believe, attempting to baptize them. I've heard of this happening in the past, like mothers drowning their children and under some kind of a breakdown involving hallucinations and things along those lines. But apparently after that, the bodies went somewhat downstream, and she continued to kind of wade in the water and approach her neighbors, trying to do the same thing to them. That's completely terrifying. It gave me chills. This next one is about a former deputy, Daniel Wilkie, who basically baptized somebody he had just pulled over on a traffic stop. Take a look.
See in this cell phone video happened back in 2019, but you're seeing it with your own eyes for the first time right now. A baptism is a pretty common sight in the South, but this cell phone video, entered as evidence in federal court, shows a sheriff's deputy baptizing a woman he just pulled over. That deputy, Daniel Wilkie, seen stripped down to his boxer shorts. The video recorded by his former partner, Jacob Goforth, and the woman you see in the water with Wilkie, Shandell Riley, one of the 7 people suing him, saying Wilkie violated her civil rights. The suit says Wilkie told Riley he would only give her a citation instead of take her to jail for marijuana remnants in her car if she let him do this.
You believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross, raised from the dead 3 days later?
In court filings, Daniel Wilkie admitted to baptizing Riley. However, he claimed she specifically asked the deputy to do it so she could, quote, turn away from her life of drug abuse and crime. But the lawsuit says Riley felt horribly violated. And we may never know her whole story. She died in April of this year. A medical examiner's report blames a drug overdose.
In the name of the Father and the Holy Spirit, I baptize you.
In later filings, a federal judge wrote any reasonable observer would conclude that the effect of the baptism was an unequivocal endorsement of Christianity. This 250-page deposition of Sheriff Jim Hammond reveals an internal affairs investigation wasn't opened into this bizarre encounter until months later, even though Wilkie's superiors knew what happened. The sheriff admits, quote, this was serious enough a case, it should have been. Now, Wilkie is no longer a sheriff's deputy. He resigned before he could be fired. He still also faces dozens of criminal charges in Hamilton County Court.
The 27-page civil rights complaint was filed today. It argues that what a Hamilton County deputy did to a woman in February violates her First Amendment rights. Defense attorney Robin Flores says what happened on February 6 was unconstitutional.
Freedom from religion, where she was forced to participate in a religious ritual against her will.
In the lawsuit, it states Shandell Marie Riley had bought some cigarettes at a gas station around 10 at night. The lawsuit says she was followed home by Hamilton County Deputy Daniel Wilkie, who later pulled her over and accused her of having drugs. Flores says Riley pled guilty to possession of marijuana. She was given a suspended sentence and remains on probation, but that's not where it ends.
She had been asking her if she'd been saved and asking her if she believed in Jesus,
giving her an ultimatum to get baptized.
That's insane. That's crazy. To do that on duty, just to be in that mindset, I think this person is capable. I think that puts you in the radical realm. You've now crossed that line. You're now a radical. You've been radicalized. There's nothing more important. So the fact that this young lady now became a witness to a crime and then ends up being found dead of an overdose, I mean, that to me, that makes him a suspect. I don't know about you guys. He fits the weirdness with all this and then the death. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think we're going to be hearing more about this.
Or go to jail.
where you convert or else.
The lawsuit seeking $1 million in damages says Riley followed Wilkie and another deputy to Saudi Lake. Wilkie then stripped down to his boxer shorts and gave Riley the option to remove her clothes. She said no.
We still don't know how Shandell Riley died, just that the TBI is waiting on an autopsy to determine what happened. But there are still some questions left unanswered tonight.
An unusual case we first learned about in 2019 that court documents show unfolded here at Saudi Lake.
I think the history of it in the media will show that a baptism by a police officer in the line of duty in exchange for leniency in a criminal case.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any evidence that she was targeted, like prior to the crime. You know, maybe the traffic stop wasn't a coincidence or a random event. Maybe she was targeted.
Is beyond the pale.
And now the TBI says the woman at the center of the lawsuit, Shandell Riley, has been found dead at a residence here on Log Cabin Lane in Saudi Daisy.
All I can tell you is that I learned late yesterday afternoon that she had apparently been found deceased.
Riley is one of several people suing Hamilton County Deputy Daniel Wilkie. She claimed he stripped down to his underwear and baptized her in Saudi Lake after a traffic stop, offering a citation instead of an arrest if she agreed. It's an ongoing lawsuit that's seen many delays due to the pandemic and other factors, and with Riley's death comes another hurdle.
It could impact it negatively to the point where we would have nobody to continue to prosecute it.
But her attorney, Robin Flores, says the case can still move forward.
Her deposition's already been done. Her testimony is preserved.
Flores says a key factor will be whether Riley's two surviving children want to take on the case.
They would fill her shoes, in essence.
It's an ongoing case with more questions than answers about what happened at this lake and now down this road.
Okay, so, I mean, of course, you can't accuse the guy of murder. There's no evidence of murder. It's listed as a homicide. But you have to think about motive and, if she goes away, maybe all those other problems eventually will go away, here in the near future. Nobody's accusing you anymore. Nobody's suing you anymore. You can go and get your job again, because with time, anything, things change, and it happens all the time, with actors and movie producers where they get convicted of a child sex crime or some type of abuse, and everybody's outrage, cancel. And then, 10 years go by and then they're back, making movies and doing stuff like that. But this guy seemed to have a motive. I think if a cop was going to commit a crime and make it appear something else, it would be something like an overdose, So the MO fits with the profile, in my opinion, but I don't know much about it, and I'm not making any accusations. But your actions already prove that you're a little bit loony, radicalized. And if you're judging somebody to the point where you got to yank them out of their car and tell them they need to get baptized because they're such a bad person, like there's nothing Christian, in my opinion, about that. Marijuana remnants. My body secretes marijuana remnants. Hey, where I'm from, pot is legal. Completely. Yeah, Miss Persevere says exactly. An overdose would be easy for law enforcement to use as a cover. Yeah, just dismiss this person who already has addiction to drugs, Of course she OD'd. That brings us back to that term when we talk about Karina McClurkin's case, the hot dose. Remember, we thought that's what was going on. She was given a hot dose. And what that is basically it's like too much of a drug, all at one time, when the person who's fixing the dose is aware of it. They're doing it purposefully. Well, I don't know if it's purposefully or by mistake, but I know that's what a hot dose is. Remnants. Remnants. That's so weird. I'm encased in remnants. The Rick Simpson oil is very potent. Yeah, I'm messing with some dabs and some really good flour right now. And I'm getting close to flowering some of my indoor, and my outdoors almost ready for me to go cut it. Yeah, there seems to be drugs always at the epicenter of the issue, whether it's prescription drugs for psychosis or um, stuff like heroin, meth, crack cocaine, stuff like that. That stuff will make your mind like, I think it's all about losing reality. You know, it's that fantasy. People get lost in that. A lot of these killers, I think, are based in fantasy. I think fantasy could be the root of a lot of these crimes. You got to keep that in check. All right, the next one here is teen charged with murder said he baptized his father. And it's exactly as bad as it sounds, if not worse.
Charging connection to the drowning of his father. Jack Callahan pleading not guilty. Police say they pulled the victim out of this pond in Duxbury yesterday, and today new disturbing details are coming out in court. 7's Jonathan Hall has the full story.
The details that emerged at this arraignment, pretty bizarre. We are hearing details about a father and son, both in some way dealing with substance abuse problems and also mental health issues.
They did locate the victim, Scott Callahan, submerged in the water near two floating suitcases.
19-year-old Jack Callahan sobbing in court, facing a judge and a murder charge in connection with the apparent drowning death of his dad in Duxbury early Monday morning. Police have combed his mom's nearby home for evidence. At Callahan's arraignment, a prosecutor said the mother called 911 reporting her son was having a mental breakdown and her ex-husband had gone missing. Duxbury police say Jack was hyperventilating and seemed to pass out at times, but he did talk about his father punching him in the face.
The defendant said, "He hit me. I blacked out. When I came to, I was walking into the house soaked."
In a bizarre twist, detectives reported Callahan, while being evaluated at a hospital, claimed his dad was possessed by a demonic spirit he called Dirty Dan.
Dirty Dan.
He was baptizing his father. He described that he was holding his father in the...
Did you guys hear that? He said he was possessed by a demon whose name was Dirty Dan. How scary is that? This dude killed his father because he was hanging out with Dirty Dan. Have you guys ever seen a movie called Drop Dead Fred? That's what that reminds me of. You guys familiar with this movie? I'm showing my age a little bit, but this movie is incredible. It's about a little girl who has an imaginary friend, Drop Dead Fred. You know, he can just pop up out of nowhere. And they get into all these shenanigans. I think it's against her, you know, her mom's kind of like one of those like evil moms, you know, everything's like negative or whatever. And then he like disappears, and later on in life, Drop Dead Fred pops back in, and she's this successful businesswoman. She's getting married, but really her life is kind of going into the shithole, and she doesn't realize it. And she brings back her imaginary friend to take her through these tough times. It's hilarious. Cobwebs. What does he call her? The Mega Beast. And there's something else too. They're always getting into. Maybe mud pies or some shit. Good flick though. Go check it out.
pond on his back like a baby, that he continually dunked the father's head in the water about 4 to 8 times.
The teen's lawyer says Callahan's dad has a serious drinking problem, had left a rehab in Hopkinton Sunday, then showed up at a Boston bar where Jack and a friend went to bring him to his mother's house.
My client had a concern for his father, knowing that he would be drinking, knowing that he shouldn't be drinking. They called an Uber.
Police say Wendy Callahan, a well-known South Shore interior decorator, told her son Jack not to bring her ex to her home. So he arranged an Uber driver to drop them off here
Guy
at this
called it a
park,
Uber.
where a late-night altercation ensued between midnight and 2 a.m. Monday. Despite this young man's statements about baptizing his father and scientific evidence from an autopsy that says there was water in Scott Callahan's lungs, the DA says he can't now state whether the cause of death was drowning.
Well, I think we'll wait for the further determination from the medical examiner's office, but obviously that's a significant injury.
The defense attorney asked the judge to send Callahan to Bridgewater for psychiatric observation. The judge said that may happen at some point, but not now. Next court date,
Wow.
August 12th. In Duxbury, Jonathan Hall, 7 News.
Bizarre. I mean, imagine how crazy that scene must have been. Like, both of these guys were basically out of their mind. One seems like he blacked out. There were suitcases in the water. Like, what was he doing? Like, it's like he thought he was sending him somewhere or something. I don't know. So crazy. Mayhem. Drop Dead Fred for Aunt Flo when we were teenagers. That's awful. The mega bitch. The young ones. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know if maybe he did all this crazy stuff, but maybe he wasn't the one that drowned him, you know. Maybe something else happened. Maybe he took him out there and did all this crazy stuff, tried to baptize him, walked away, and then somehow the man just decided to go further out into the water on his own. So they said that they're still investigating. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Dirty Dan. To me, I was like, what? I paused the report and I was like, you know, then you start kind of trying to dig into the mind a little bit. Imagine there's somebody who's communicating with what he thinks is a demonic being named Dirty Dan. That's terrifying. Like, I kind of want to know what Dirty Dan was saying. It's like, what was Dirty Dan talking about there? The spirit world. What is it? Upside down world in Stranger Things? That's where I feel we're like in the upside down world. To me, that's more like a purgatory type scenario. What's up, Spain? All right, looks like we are running out of time. So we'll try to crunch the rest of this into one more hour. We're going to dive into some home invasions that didn't go so well for the perpetrators. And again, viewer discretion definitely advised with this here.
Intruders. Tonight, we know the names of the suspects. This is News 6 at 6, getting results. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. We have been following this story since it broke yesterday afternoon. Brevard County deputies say the men broke into a home along West Court, just north of Titusville. News 6's James Sparvero has the 911 calls and the details.
And you don't know which way he went, just in all the craziness, you're not sure?
Breathing heavy on the line with 911, Brevard Sheriff's deputies say is the victim of Thursday afternoon's armed home invasion on West Court. At this house on the cul-de-sac, deputies say the man living here shoots and kills 2 intruders.
Immediately. I just killed somebody that broke in my house. And my mom at gunpoint. He's bleeding, not you, right? Yes, no, me and my mom are fine, thank God.
Just in tonight, deputies say the man and his mother knew one of the robbers. One of them was allegedly 20-year-old Alvin Smalls from Titusville. The 911 caller telling the operator his body was in a bedroom. As for 18-year-old Amir Lynn from Mims,
how scary is that?
Tell me what's going on.
His mother at the scene yesterday, too close to where deputies say he collapsed to his death in the street. She had to be restrained. Multiple neighbors watched as rescuers attempted to save Lynn's life.
All I know is I just heard some pops. I looked out my window and I saw a man lying across the road. They were doing CPR.
And also, I wanted to bring everybody's attention, and you're welcome, but I believe I found the cutest lady in the entire world. I mean, it's like Disney made this woman up.
To save Lynn's life.
All I know is I just heard some pops. I looked out my window and I saw a man lying across the road. They were doing CPR.
Deputies originally reported that Smalls and Lynn were wearing masks. Tonight they clarify that at least one mask was recovered at the crime scene. A neighbor tells us the suspects arrived at the house in a black car.
What's up, Frank?
The vehicle is dead in my bed.
Deputies say the shooting appears justified. The state attorney's office will have the final call on that.
She is
In North
adorable.
Brevard County, I'm James Sparvero getting results, News 6.
Man, that's terrifying. So first of all, you have people breaking into your home that are carrying weapons. Okay, that's scary enough as it is. And then you have to kill these people to save you and your family. Okay? If those two things aren't terrible enough, imagine one of those people being your neighbor, and now the person that you killed, the mother, who is also your neighbor, is now out front asking, what happened to my son? So effed up. And why do I have a feeling that drugs are at the epicenter of that situation? I mean, what else would motivate you to go into somebody else's house? And I think I heard that they were robbed like a few days prior to that of a bunch of electronic devices. Yeah. It's almost unbearable. Just something genuine about that lady. Yeah, and then you have to explain it, you know? And I'm sure the mother's going to be like, I'm going to get you back. You know? Like, I don't care what he did. You killed my son. I'm going to get you. Imagine living in that aftermath. Jeez. All right, here's another story very similar and just as crazy.
Tara and I had a chance to speak with that homeowner this evening. He says he's lived in that house for the past 20 years and 8 years ago decided to buy a gun. Now he's taken some lessons on how to handle that firearm, and today those lessons were put into action.
I had to do what I had to do to save my life.
Meso Jackson awoke around 4:30 Tuesday morning to a man pounding on his door and yelling. Parts of the encounter captured on his Ring doorbell camera at his home on Salem Street on Detroit's west side.
Talking about somebody owe him some money or something. I say, ain't nobody owe you no money. I don't know what you talking about.
Jackson says he tried to reason with the man from inside his house.
He wouldn't leave, so I dialed 911.
While he waited for police, he said things escalated from there.
He went around the window back there and bust that window out.
Fearing the destruction wouldn't stop, Jackson then armed himself.
Came outside and said, "Man, you gotta leave. You can't be doing this. You can't be doing this. So you gotta leave." So he had his gun. He had reached for his gun. He pulled his gun out, and I had to defend myself. So I had to shoot him. I did because of that.
Firing 4 shots, they hit the man in the chest, killing him.
It was me or him at that point. I didn't want to hurt nobody, but he just wouldn't quit.
When police did arrive, Jackson says he followed their orders, led away in handcuffs for questioning.
What's up, what's up?
Knowing he was a lawful gun owner and also aware that police had an investigation to do.
I'm like shocked this guy would leave, and he tried to kill me, and so I didn't do nothing to the guy. I'm like, and that's a part that was kind of sad.
Hopeful that the law would be on his side once police heard his story.
You can't help but defend yourself. You ain't got no choice but to.
And sharing his story with us, hoping that someone might take away a lesson or two from his encounter.
You got to be on guard. You got to be prepared. You can't just let people run you over, hurt you, and don't do nothing about it. You got to defend yourself.
And Detroit police did confirm they did take away Jackson for questioning and kept him in custody for several hours before releasing him without any charges. But ultimately, it will be up to the prosecutor's office after they review the entire case to decide what, if any, charges may come of all this. Reporting live tonight, Dave Spencer.
Okay, so I agree with the guy there that had to, that shot that person. I agree with what he said. But I do have some criticism for what he did. Like, he really didn't have to go outside, There's no reason for him to go out there and confront that man. Now, if he starts coming in, but the truth is, he had every right to go out there and confront that guy. He's on his property. Now, if the guy wants to be stupid and point a weapon at him, he's like, well, guess what? I brought a weapon. But I think that could have been avoided by not going outside. Stay armed, stay ready, stay vigilant, and be prepared. As soon as this guy feels the need to try to kick in your door, you're ready. But that's my only criticism. I don't think he should have gone outside. What do you guys think? Well, too many people faking scenarios, trying to get away from crime. How's it going, Kristen? Good to see you. Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Yeah, I'm saying he had every right to go out there, but it's almost like, he was looking for the guy to do something like that. So I don't know. I think there should be an investigation into it a little further. It's kind of like the kid that ran after he accidentally shot his friend, Say it was accidental, but you don't know. Why did he run? Because of that specific fact, in my opinion, it should be definitely investigated for sure. In this situation, the fact that he went outside in the first place it's obviously the stupidest thing you can do. You're going out there for an encounter. So for that reason, I think it needs to be looked into further. That's just my opinion. Nice. Good. A bit hasty to go outside and confront him. Yeah, Chickpea, why go out there? But, you know, when you watch all three Death Wish movies, including the new Bruce Willis one, you might go outside and be like, look here, man. I'm not going to take this shit anymore. And then it's like the Old West. It's like he pitched a bet, called me a liar. He drew on me first. It was legal. Yeah, I would have stayed inside. I would have been ready, though. Don Spain says, I think we're at the point that citizens have to confront crime as it happens. Law enforcement has become hapless. I think you meant hopeless, maybe, to help. Well, the thing about law enforcement is they're there to react to the crime. You know, they're there to find out who committed the crime after the fact. And then also, like, when they're, I guess, patrolling, you know, they're trying to be firsthand witnesses of crimes or be near certain areas if a crime happens there. Maybe they're following patterns and things like that. But they're pretty much overall they're reactive. You know, when you need a gun, you'll call a police officer. So people, if you don't think that you need to defend yourself against monsters, then you have no clue. What are we doing in the true crime genre if we're not completely aware that like 1 out of 10 people is a straight killer, you know, or a rapist or a woman beater or, you know, a potential pedophile or somebody who's just suffering from mental health and is losing their grip on reality. You know, mental health is everywhere. And I'm pretty sure everybody in some capacity, some more than others, suffer from that. But I'm talking about extreme cases where it becomes a threat. So if you're blind to that fact, you know, it's like how random people can just become a statistic is insane. Now, this one is out of Indiana. Same scenario. This guy's actually a little bit more chatty and he kind of gives some more insight, and it's his second time. So this dude's living in an area where these people are just breaking into his house in the middle of the night, like on a weekly basis, apparently. I don't think they're going to do it anymore. Listen.
And take it from me. There's plenty of spots over in Crown Hill.
Now, Crown Hill is the local cemetery. Crazy. Another wild case. Okay. Now, this case was brought to my attention by 2 viewers, Donna and Derek Farmer, this morning, and I've been looking into it ever since. I don't know. I've dubbed it the Apple River stabbings. Are you guys familiar with this? Punch in the number 1 if you have heard of this case. It happened yesterday, I believe. I was able to dig up some new information. I mean, it may be public now, but about 2 hours ago, none of this information was being provided. I had to kind of dig it up. So you have. This case here is going to be the Apple River stabbings. And this is out of Wisconsin. Okay, Kristen, good. We're going to get into it. I was able to find an arrest record. They haven't announced officially the person's name, but I found the arrest record, confirmed the person, and was able to get some photos. And this story has has some similarities with Delphi, so it's very interesting. Also, the location, and proximity of Indiana and where where Delphi is located is also interesting. But not that, just this guy's profile and like what he tried to do, and we'll talk about after we go over this information here.
Photograph of the subject. It was a citizen that ended up locating him down here.
A 52-year-old man from Minnesota is behind bars tonight, accused of stabbing 5 people today on the Apple River near Somerset, Wisconsin. A 17-year-old boy was killed, and 4 others are in critical condition at the hospital. Investigators believe the suspect and the victims were tubing down the river when this all happened. Good evening, I'm Mary McGuire. Our Babs Santos has been on the scene for hours, and he has the latest from Wisconsin.
Yeah, a 52-year-old man is in the St. Croix County Jail tonight, a man not previously known by law enforcement, but today they say he stabbed 5 people, killing 1.
I'm sure that anybody that witnessed this will never forget it.
1 person is dead and 4 more in the hospital Saturday night after a shocking afternoon for tubers on Somerset's Apple River. St. Croix County Sheriff Scott Knudsen saying a 52-year-old man stabbed 5 people on the water.
There are a number of body injuries, torso injuries, stab wounds.
Law enforcement rushed to the area after receiving many 911 calls just before 4 o'clock. On site, the youngest victim, a 17-year-old Minnesotan, did not make it. The other 4 wounded, 1 woman and 3 men in their early 20s, all with critical injuries, were rushed to Regions Hospital.
2 by ambulance, 2 by air to Regions.
The man responsible for the attack was gone by the time police arrived, and they say he traveled about a mile away upstream to this spot. But other tubers on the river were able to take his photograph, helping police identify and capture him less than 2 hours later after a citizen located him.
So it seems like this guy tried to blend right back in with the tubers. So I'm not sure if there was some type of motive, if there was an exchange. There's no update on that yet, on why he did this. But if anybody's ever been tubing, there's a lot of drinking. And, it's kind of like a party. It's a place to party, really, and relax, and attracts a lot of young people and drinking. So I'm wondering if something was said, threats were made. There was talk about a man approaching an underage girl, but we all know that's how rumors get started. It just happened to be a question one of the journalists asked the sheriff at the presser. You'll see that coming up. But it appears that this gentleman traveled about a mile upstream, committed the murder, and then went back downstream along with the water, thinking that he was going to be undetected. But thanks to a couple witnesses, they spotted him kind of creeping through there. So it was just kind of strange. So maybe it was even unprovoked. Maybe this is some type of like serial kill. He thought it'd be the perfect crime. Do you guys know anything about Ted Bundy? Ted Bundy went to a popular park. It was packed, filled with people. He went to the park, kidnapped, raped, murdered 1 girl, and went back to the same park a few hours later and did it again. So what if this guy was trying to kind of blend into the crowd? So I'm super curious. This case has my attention. And we'll keep going here.
There were many in the area at the time, and Mark Halverson spoke with some of them.
He said 2 guys just got stabbed. I think one of them is dead. He says, I never saw so much blood.
Even after the man's arrest, police continued to search the water for the murder weapon. They say the suspect was with his own group of 6 to 8 people on the river. And between the two groups, they need to interview 15 to 20 people to figure out what started all of this.
This stuff just doesn't happen around here. Everybody is friendly and nice and wants to have fun, and for this to happen?
But it's been a number of years since a stabbing has taken place.
Yeah, his hat game is on
maybe
point.
15 years now.
Tonight, law enforcement say they hope to have all of this wrapped up so that charges can come down from the district attorney as soon as Monday. In
Right.
Somerset, Bab Santos.
Hiding in plain sight. But I think that all depends on the motive now. But let's say this was unprovoked. But one of the witnesses did confirm that at one point, this killer, his group, was right next to the victim's group going down the river. So that's what makes me think there was maybe some kind of altercation. Maybe one of the members of one group was inappropriate with a member of the other group. That could cause a guy to snap, you know? So I don't know yet. Was it unprovoked? Was it some type of serial thing? Because we hear rumors about Delphi and, you know, the hitchhiker, and he was like talking about, oh, it was impressive. Well, this guy killed one guy and stabbed 4 other people and got away. If he wouldn't have had a witness, he would have been gone. He would have blended right in with the crowd. Now, how the hell do you do that? How do you stab 5 people? So it's very reminiscent, if anything. Like, to me, you're acting very quickly, or you're somehow surprising them. Were they all laying? Were they napping? Were they maybe separated somewhat? Was he laying in wait? We all know that the hunter who hunted hunters, he would kill one hunter, you know, and leave the victim on the ground and wait for the other hunter to walk up. And when the other hunter walked up and was like, dude, are you okay? Boom, he would shoot him too. So we covered that case. So maybe it was a scenario like that. You know, he got one person, you know, and then the next person came out looking, or something like that. Who knows? We'll find out, I'm sure, here in the next couple days exactly what happened.
A 17-year-old Minnesota teen is dead and 4 people are in the hospital, all stabbed along the Apple River in Somerset, Wisconsin. As you probably know, the river is a popular place for tubing during the summer.
Yeah, and tonight police say that's what the victims and the suspect were doing when the attack happened. Police say that they started getting 911 calls around 3:45 this afternoon, just north of Highway 3564 bridge. Once they got to the scene, they found the victims. Let's get more on what happened, though. We have our Devon Raming, who is in Somerset tonight. Devon.
Well, Morgan and Chris, investigators with the St. Croix County Sheriff's Department are still actively working, trying to piece together what led up to this afternoon's deadly attack. We know that 4 of the victims were male, the 5th victim a female, and we also know that the suspect in this case is a 52-year-old man. Tragedy on the Apple River in Somerset.
Chaotic, scary. I'm sure that anybody that witnessed this will never forget it.
After St. Croix County deputies say someone pulled out a knife on a group of tubers, stabbing 5 people, killing one of them.
One was transported to Lakeview where
I'm
they
not
were
sure.
pronounced deceased. I believe the deceased
Could be
individual is a
somebody just crazy.
17-year-old male from Minnesota.
This all launching a massive afternoon search along the river for a motive, weapon, and a suspect.
Over my shoulder is where we ended up locating the suspect with the help of some witnesses that identified him. He was taken into custody without incident.
Now, the victims in this case, as of tonight, investigators tell us their conditions range from serious to critical. 2 of the victims had to be airlifted to Regions Hospital. The other 2 were transported by ambulance, and we're told that charges in this case are expected to be filed as early as Monday. Guys, back to you.
Just a horrible incident. So many people wondering how it happened, what started it, how it all went down, but just a
after they were stabbed while tubing on the Apple River in Somerset, Wisconsin. WCCO's Kirsten Mitchell joins us live with the latest from the St. Croix County Jail, where the suspect is being held tonight. Kirsten, obviously a chaotic afternoon.
This happened yesterday.
Yeah, Aaron, a chaotic and scary afternoon, especially for those hundreds of tubers out on the popular Apple River, just trying to enjoy this beautiful summer day, but instead witnessing a tragedy. And tonight, what led to the stabbings is still unclear.
It was really the most chaotic, disruptive, saddening day I've ever been a part of.
In Kyle Rackner's 7 years working for River's Edge Tubing in Somerset, never has he had a shift like Saturday.
Pure rage.
Never before.
Multiple injuries. It'll be on the Apple River.
Around 3:45, 911 callers said multiple people were stabbed while tubing on the Apple River.
Upon arrival, they located 5 individuals that were suffering from stab wounds. The suspect of that stabbing had left the scene.
One of the victims, a 17-year-old boy from Minnesota, died from his injuries. The other 4 tubers in their early 20s were taken to the hospital with critical injuries. After an extensive search and help from witnesses, authorities say the 52-year-old suspect was taken into custody underneath this bridge, just downstream from where the stabbings happened.
We're probably talking about 15 to 20 people altogether that we're trying to get good interviews on. At this time, we're not sure what started this incident.
During the hour-and-a-half search for the suspect, Rackner and his co-workers helped evacuate tubers from the river.
A lot of them were saying they saw a lot of blood, a lot of bad stuff.
To happen around here, it's out of the ordinary.
The tragedy leaving many in the small community on edge and heartbroken.
I am happy that he was caught, but I am extremely saddened for the families of everyone else because it's terrible.
I'm sure that anybody that witnessed this will never forget it. So it is a tragedy.
And for
that were suffering from stab wounds, the suspect of that stabbing had left the scene at that time. It was not an accessible area.
Hold on. For some reason, that one's not playing right. Let me try it again.
That were suffering from stab wounds. The suspect of that stabbing.
Let's try it this way. Can you guys hear that?
It's not an accessible area. It took some bit to get upriver. The actual location is on Highway 3564, what we call the Sunrise Bridge by the old Sunrise Park. It's about milepost number 9 on 3564. And below that, upriver is where the incident took place by about 100 yards.
He gives a lot of information here.
100 to 200 yards. Deputies arrived and with the help of a number of individuals and tubers began to evacuate and administer EMS and life-saving measures to some, suffering a range of knife wounds. Again, 5 individuals, 4 were transported out, 2 by ambulance, 2 by air to Regions. 1 was transported to Lakeview where they were pronounced deceased. I believe the deceased individual is a 17-year-old male from Minnesota. The other 4 individuals, I believe one is a female and 3 males. I do not have their location or their addresses or their home areas. Again, the deceased is 17 years old, and I believe the other 4, from the information I have thus far, are all in their 20s, early 20s. The suspect, after perimeter was set up, we had called for mutual aid from a number of agencies, both within St. Croix County as well as Polk County. Washington County came over to assist. I believe Minnesota State Patrol helicopter was en route as well in an attempt to find the suspect. Over my shoulder is where we ended up locating the suspect with the help of some witnesses that identified him. He was taken into custody without incident. He is a 52-year-old male from Minnesota. I will open to entertain any questions at this time. I don't have a lot of information. This is an ongoing investigation, but I'm sharing with you what information I do have at this point.
Sheriff, any idea what this was about, how this started?
Again, with a number of witnesses, I believe the gentleman that is our suspect was with another group of 6 to 8, and then we have the other individuals. So we're probably talking about 15 to 20 people altogether that we're trying to get good interviews on. At this time, we're not sure what started this incident.
We spoke with one person who said he saw a male approaching young people inappropriately, children.
I do not have any. I do not have that information at this time.
So this is the part I was referring to here. If you listen, one of the journalists asked him a question that he heard from somebody that was there on scene.
Young people.
Views on. At this time, we're not sure what started this incident.
We spoke with one person who said he saw a male approaching young people inappropriately.
He said somebody mentioned that they saw a male approaching young people inappropriately. That was the question.
Children.
I do not have any. I do not have that information at this time.
Was the suspect tubing himself, or was he standing? What was his location?
It's all believed that everybody was tubing. Where they all started, I do not know from which campground or which park, but they were all tubing and appear to be simultaneously going down with those 2 groups.
Was there only one person taken into custody, or were there multiple?
At this time, there is one person taken into custody. We believe that is the sole person of our investigation. But again, this is a very fluid investigation. That could change, but we believe it is one suspect, one subject.
You said a variety of injuries. Can you elaborate or describe?
What is being relayed to me is there are a number of body injuries, torso injuries, stab wounds. Again, how many to each person and specific location, I do not know.
Do you know how large of a knife this man had?
That I do not know.
You guys have the knife? Do you have the weapon?
We are searching.
Sounds like a horror movie.
When he was taken into custody, he did not have the knife on him.
So he was taken into custody here, but the stabbing happened somewhere else. About how far apart? How far away did he get?
I would venture that it's probably 3/4 to a mile upstream.
So just to get the timeline, from the beginning of the incident to when you captured this guy, how long was that approximately?
Probably about an hour and a half.
And you guys were basically beating bushes looking for this guy.
Yes,
afterwards.
yes, we had. We were working off of, thank goodness, an individual had taken a photograph of the subject, and we shared that with deputies as well as other responding resources. But it was a citizen that ended up locating him down here.
Just what do you make of this in your town? I mean, you got a nice town here; it's safe. Just what goes through your mind?
You know, it's been a number of years since a stabbing has taken place. Maybe 15 years now.
Yeah, Kristen has a good point. I hope I made that clear. This is just a question that happened to be asked by a journalist. So we know that's how a lot of rumors get started.
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, other than I don't know what to make of it. It's best for me not to speculate what was the tipping point today.
Yeah, Donna, I think he does a little bit.
Where do you guys go from here? You have this man in custody, you're questioning him. Is he going to be held somewhere, and what happens now?
Yeah, he's currently at the St. Croix County Jail. We'll attempt to get an interview in on him. Gathering information, we hope to have at least enough put together for the district attorney's office to review for possible charges on Monday. Again, because there are so many people to interview.
Well, Dave, I've been sleeping well
Maybe the next day,
recently.
we will. We are hoping for Monday.
Is this guy known to you at all?
No.
Your folks?
No.
The other 4 victims, do they have life-threatening injuries?
All I'm told is that they all had critical injuries. When I was out there, there was one that was walking wounded, but there were a number of ambulances that were transporting. So I think there are several that are critical, but that's all that I have right now.
Might have been separate witnesses, but I guess they mentioned that they did see a male
This time I don't have that
approaching younger people.
Did the businesses who, did they end up shutting down?
Could even be unrelated.
For a while, or has that...
We're actually in the process of trying to divert some of the tubing traffic around our crime scene. So that alone is causing some challenges, trying to get them off the river, and gathering up what we can in a hard to get to area.
No idea when you're going to be reopened? No idea.
No, I
It's going
don't.
to be an all-night thing, you think?
I would imagine we'll be out there for a number of hours yet.
When you guys captured this man, what state of mind was he in?
He was cooperative.
How would you kind of describe the amount of people out here on a day like today? Tubing, obviously a very popular area with families potentially too, who kind of were witness to all this. How would you kind of describe that situation on the river?
Chaotic, scary. I'm sure that anybody that witnessed this will never forget it. So it is a tragedy, and I feel really bad for the families.
Anything else, guys?
So this is the guy they have in custody right now. So they didn't announce the guy's name. They just gave a few details. But I was able to find the police arrest report, and that led me to, I guess I can't really pronounce, I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's last name is spelled Miu. And I'll put that arrest record up here for anybody who wants to take a screenshot or take a look at that information. So let's take a look here at Nick or Nikolai. So here's Apple River, and this was taken the day of. So that's most likely an area where you would vacate the river and then jump on a bus or get back in a vehicle or something along those lines. This is the person that they have in custody. And he'll be all over the news probably later tonight. So I don't know, was he retaliating for some inappropriate behavior? Was he some type of serial murderer? Was there some type of altercation and he went into rage mode? Is he even the guy? You know? So this should all be coming out, if not already, today at some point. This is from his Facebook. And we saw that. And here is what I was able to dig up online. So we have the date, which was yesterday, same county, male 52. We heard the report of the suspect 52. It's his full name there. This is all public information now. But we know he stabbed 5 people total, right? So looks like we have 4 counts of mayhem. So that must be the stabbings. First degree intentional homicide. That I believe that's the 17-year-old who passed away. So he's getting a homicide charge for that. And then for the other 4, again, he's going to get aggravated battery. Intended great bodily harm, arrest 730, no bond. So he's being denied bond. Nikolai Mio? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Yeah. What was the motive, you know? And how is that possible? So it's almost like these people would have to be standing in a, like, let's say they're standing in a row or next to each other. And he just pulls out a knife and stabs them all quickly. How else do you stab 5 people? When we talk about the Delphi case, we're always like, what the heck? How did this person, do this to 2 people at one time? This guy did it to 5. And the youngest was 17. The rest were like in their early 20s. So we're talking about capable young people. One actually was a girl, was a female. Oh, here's a little article. Let's see. The river is accessible by road, but the stabbings occurred in a harder to reach area farther up the river from where the deputies arrived. So they waded about 100 yards through waist deep water, which means that's what the killer did. So they had to do what the killer did, unless he didn't go through the water and he went or maybe around and like flanked them or something. 100 yards through waist deep water to reach the victims. Sheriff Knudsen said first responders then treated the victims with the help of other tubers. Oh man, that's terrifying. Several companies offer tubing on the area's rivers for about $20. A person can take a shuttle up the river and be dropped off with an inflatable tube to float back down, which takes about 2.5 hours. So yeah, that's what I was saying. That picture right here. So what it seems like they did is they might have been camping or something. Or maybe they just floated up a little ways and they were going to have a little hangout session or something. Not sure. So all this information is still unfolding. Yeah, because you might go to like block somebody with a knife, not really expecting how damaging it could be, and then boom, you're just like, you're out. I can see that. A whole bunch of people getting in close, and he's just kind of like jabbing at them all. I'm really curious to hear what the hell happened. How is that possible? Because if I'm standing there and you stab somebody, I'm picking up something and you're getting cracked with it. At the very least. Or I'm just dipping out of there. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I don't know if they were in their tubes at the time. I think they were out of the water when this happened, from my understanding. Yeah, and there are some accounts that they weren't even tubing. They were on canoes, and some people were tubing. So I'll make sure to keep you guys updated on this case. It's crazy. So yeah, we're gonna start closing it out here in the next 5-10 minutes. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Kristen. You got it, D. Definitely some interesting stuff. Hey, Wanda. Thanks, Chickpea. Thanks, Dave. Rain Dancer. Miss Persevere. Yeah, not just crimes, Rain Dancer, like horrible crimes.